All right, so this is a fun little problem. It says the graph of the equation y equals 2x squared minus 16x plus 14 intersects the y-axis at point A, and it crosses the x-axis at points B and C. So it must have two solutions, two real solutions. It's asking us what is the area of triangle ABC. So in other words, we're going to plot these 3 points, the y-axis or the y-intercept and the two x-intercepts, and we're going to make a triangle out of that and find the area of that triangle. So let's start out by graphing this thing and seeing what exactly we're looking at. We're going to go to our graphing calculator, go to the y equals screen, and go ahead and type in 2x squared minus 16x plus 14 and hit graph, and let's see what we have. Now my calculator is zoomed out. If you need to zoom out on your calculator, go ahead and click zoom and then go to choice 3. Zoom out. I'm not going to zoom out any further because I'm already zoomed out quite a bit. If you're zoomed out too much and you want to zoom in a little bit more, you could choose choice 6, zoom standard, and that'll bring you in a little bit closer. Now we can definitely see where the graph crosses the x-axis, but we can't quite see where it crosses the y-axis. So rather than relying on the calculator for this, let's go ahead and do a little bit of algebra here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to think about what the meaning of the y-intercept is. We know that the function y equals 2x squared minus 16x plus 14 describes this parabola using algebra, but what we really want to know is where is this thing crossing the y-axis? Well, it turns out that we can actually read that value right out of the graph. We know that at the y-intercept, the x value equals 0. So if I think about x equaling 0 in this equation in both of these spots where we see x, we can very clearly see that when x equals 0, y is going to equal positive 14. And let's just show that real quick. Y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 16 times 0 plus 14. Well, we know that anything multiplied by 0 is just 0. So each of these terms are going to equal 0 by themselves. Very simple. And y itself equals 14 when x equals 0. So this tells us that the y-intercept, or point A, must be located at, let's make a little note here, point A must be located at 0, 14. I'm going to just leave that little note off to the side. All right, now let's go after those other 2 points, points B and C. We know that those are the x-intercepts, and we can use a couple of different strategies to solve for this. Since we have the graphing calculator out, let's go ahead and use our graphing calculator skills to find the x-intercepts. We can see that both of them are positive, and so what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and click on second trace, which is the calculate screen, and we're going to choose the second choice, which says 0, and hit enter. Now the calculator is going to ask for some boundaries. It wants to know what's a left-hand boundary on the parabola, and then it's going to ask what's a right-hand boundary. What we're really going to do is kind of set up field goal posts around this x-intercept. So I'm going to move my cursor up until I see my cursor. So hit left or right until your cursor is visible on the screen. Oh, there it is. So here's my cursor. I'm going to move it until it's to the left-hand side of that x-intercept. So there it is, and hit enter. And the question changes to right bound. I'm going to move the cursor until it is on the right-hand side of that x-intercept. And you can kind of see where it's set up little goalposts here, little boundary lines, and it asks for your best guess. So I'm going to just pick something that's pretty close, move my cursor between those 2 goalposts, kind of very close to that x-intercept, and hit enter. And it tells us that it actually crosses the x-axis at x equals 1, y equals 0. So I'm going to put point B is located at 1, 0 on my notes. All right, last but not least, we have to find that other point over here. So we're going to do the exact same process. We're going to hit second trace and calculate the other 0. And to do that, we're going to bring our cursor around. And there it is again. It's pretty much located at that other x-intercept. This time again, I want to put it over to the left. So that'll be down here. Hit enter. It asks for the right boundary, so I'm going to move it up past to the right-hand side. That'll be good enough. Hit enter. There's our little goalposts. We're going to take our best guess for the last question, hit enter, and it locates the 0 at 7, 0. So point C is located right here at 7, 0. So there's our triangle. Our triangle is located at the ordered pair 0, 14, 1, 0, and 7, 0. Now at this point, it's probably going to be helpful for us to go ahead and just create a triangle on our paper. And we can just kind of plot these points as a rough sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to make a little plot right here, which I'm going to call A, and I'm going to label it at 0, 14. Next, I'm going to make a little point that I'm going to call B. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's located at 1, 0. And last, I'm going to make a little point over here, which I'm going to call C, and it's located at 7, 0. And just using my pencil, I'm going to connect these dots just the best I can. Again, does not have to be perfect at all, just so that we know it forms a triangle. Okay, let's see if we can go ahead and measure the base and the height of this triangle. That's the information that we need to find the area. Remember that the area of a triangle is just base times height divided by 2. So let's go after the base. That looks easy to find. The base, remember, is just the flat portion of the shape that sits on the ground. It looks like the base goes from x equals 1 to x equals 7, so the measurement of the base must be 6. Now be very careful with the height of this triangle. Be careful that you're not taking the slanted side of the triangle. Instead, remember that we have to take the straight line distance up to the top of the shape. So you may find it helpful to draw a little perpendicular line down. Since this triangle's base is located at y equals 0 and its highest point is located at y equals 14, we know that the height of this triangle is 14. Now that we have the base and the height, finding the area will be very simple. For the area, it's just going to be 6 times 14, all divided by 2. We can simplify this fraction real quick before we do any multiplication. 14 divided by 2 is 7, so this simplifies to 6 times 7, which we know, of course, is 42. And this will be 42 units squared, just like that. And we look back at our choices. That's answer choice A.